a human that believes in something that he doesn't think I have good evidence to believe in, and I'm teaching it to someone. So I was pointing out basically the nuances, whereas I think for him, he just wanted to just, oh, you know, oh, Jack, oh, you don't have any evidence. And I wanted to turn the tables and be like, DPR, you do understand, you have beliefs too that don't operate in the strict realm of empiricism and scientific naturalism. So don't give me a hard time like, oh, Jack, you don't have evidence, oh. A lot of people don't have scientific empirical evidence for beliefs that they hold to be true.
Mm-hmm. No, that's absolutely true.
Yes, but I think it's a matter of justification when you're talking about the education of children. And I think that I can justify my position, which is you should not teach children that they are born in sin and will burn in hell unless they believe an entity for which there is no evidence. I think that is a perfectly justifiable position to take, and I find it extraordinary that you try and argue against it without any form of evidence and just say it's a matter of reason or linguistic tricks or semantic games.
Okay.
Sorry, I do feel genuinely very strongly about this, and the ease with which you dismiss it, I find very, very troubling.
Well, yeah, because you're being inconsistent. I mean, the fact that you're not willing to acknowledge that you make this positive assertion that you're saying is based upon you're justified by your use of reason, how you can give reasons for this. Well, okay, I can give reasons.
I didn't say I could give reasons for it, although what I can also justify it. You're avoiding the point, Jack.
Okay, you can justify.
Would you teach your children about Allah or Hinduism? No, you wouldn't.
Okay,
Why
so
would you do that?
Okay.
Start asking yourself those
These
sorts
are
of
rhetorical
questions, and then you'll realize where I'm coming from.
See that? Okay, Laci. See, do you see how he's wanting to use the questions not as a means of providing evidence? He's wanting to engage with my intellect. Okay, so he's wanting to use my intellect, that is an appeal to my understanding of language and how it functions, as a way of saying, as justifying his point. Okay, he's not using scientific naturalism or empiricism at this point, and I have no problem with him doing what he's doing. My point is, though, theists do the same thing, and I think he's being inconsistent, DPR, when you're wanting to sit there and say you wanted to make one assertion, but when a Christian makes another assertion, you try to make it sound like they're being irrational, or that somehow you want to corner them as not using evidence.
But I think that this is what DPR is getting at. I think that he's saying, yes, this is a positive claim which requires evidence. However, I have evidence for this claim. So
that's not what he said, though.
I understand what the conflict is.
Well, he didn't say he had evidence, because once again, the usage of his evidence, I mean, his use of evidence, as you already pointed out, tends to be this sense of scientific naturalism. That is, he's talking about empiricism. Well, he can't empirically justify his moral assertion that people shouldn't engage in a particular sort of behavior. I mean, it's a moral assertion. So it's a philosophical assertion. You can't empirically verify that. So that's why he's not using the word evidence here. Instead,
sorry, you don't think that I can empirically supply evidence for the fact that certain things are morally right and morally wrong?
You don't have evidence for your moral claims.
So for which claims? Because you've shifted topics again.
No, you're claiming that I shouldn't teach children that God is real, and that I shouldn't teach them Christianity.
Absolutely.
and
yes.
your grounds for asserting this is not based upon empiricism or scientific naturalism. It's based upon you feeling you're justified in making that assertion.
It is based on the fact that I think that teaching children that for which there is no evidence is wrong. And I am prepared to justify that, because it's just simply, in my view, not a correct thing to do, to educate a malleable young mind into a belief system for which there is no evidence, and which is actually telling those children that they are evil, sinful, and will burn in hell unless they accept and adopt a particular belief system. If you honestly think that I need to justify that position morally, then it shows the extent to which you and your morality has been distorted by religion.
I'm just saying you cannot justify your position using using the very same sort of evidentiary framework that you tried to impose upon me earlier. I mean, I don't get this. I mean, Laci, am I the only one that's not? Did you see what he just did there?
Yes, I see what's going on here. And while I agree with DPR, I don't agree with your discourse. I don't think that you're supporting your argument very well. But I do agree with you that it's wrong. Now, for me, when I say it's wrong to indoctrinate children, the reason that I say so is because I have a belief about humanity. I have a moral belief about humanity, about the survival of the species, about doing good. Is this something that's innate? I don't know. This is just something that I believe. And you're right, Jack. This is a moral statement.
And it's an assumption.
This cannot be proven with scientific evidence to my knowledge at this point.
Exactly.
However, we can debate about what is most morally, rewarding. And I think right here is where we're saying morally there's something to be said for allowing a child's mind to gather information and choose for themselves, and for using a systematic way of assessing their beliefs. Because we see that this prevents violence, for one thing. That's a big one for me. When we have evidence, when we have a frame of deduction that looks at humanity as a whole, there is a lot of violence to be prevented. Because when people can go off on a limb and just say anything that they want and indoctrinate, and we already know there's tons of research that shows how easily influenced the human mind is. It's not fair for violent and corrupted, I'm not saying you are, Jack, but in a different vein for the same argument, it's not fair for violent, dangerous people to indoctrinate young children into this idea. Do you see how it becomes dangerous? Now, this particular belief maybe is not as pressing explicitly as the violence argument, but the implication of saying that, oh, we can just teach children things with no systematic and universally used form of deduction, that becomes very problematic.
Laci,
when we think about the broader implications of it.
Laci, I love the fact that you said what you did, because this is the reason why DPR cannot say that is because there's an inconsistency in his philosophical framework. And so for him to go down the route that you did would eliminate the sort of approach that he attempts to take with reference to me when it comes to...
What particular area did Laci raise that I didn't, or you think that I didn't accept?
Did you not see the difference in her use of language as it relates to the claim that she was making?
No, I didn't. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, well, I'm not... If you weren't... I'm not... Okay, I don't know what to say. All right.
I think that what the difference is that you might be getting at is that when I'm approaching this, I am fully willing to admit that this is based on a moral system which cannot necessarily, to my knowledge, right now, be scientifically proven, be scientifically deduced. The reason I hold this belief is not because of some scientific inquiry. It's because I truly believe, by looking at and grappling with the world, that this is the best way for humanity to go forward.
It's your use... hold on a second.
Sorry, one second, please. I do not believe that there's anything that I have said that is in any way contradictory to that. I agree with you entirely. I have never said that science is the answer. I specifically said that I would justify it from my own morality.
Okay, DPR, I find it extremely rude to cut me off when I'm trying to get my ideas out. You know, it ruins my train of thought. And this
I'm
is
sorry.
not
I
and this is
apologize.
not just about you or Jack, this is about myself as well. You know, I'm trying to learn here as well. So the thing is, you know, we can't just go through and say that all of our moral claims are going to be justified scientifically. And I'm not saying that you said that, DPR, but I think that part of that is why Jack may be perceiving us as expressing two different things, is that I'm going to admit that there is a degree of subjective inquiry going on here. Whereas the language that I heard you use was, I have this belief and I can justify it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're not saying the same thing as me, but it's not necessarily as explicit as perhaps how I phrased it either. And the reason I phrased it the way I did was to make it more explicit based off what you were saying, if that makes sense.
Well, and Laci